Hi, I'm Benjamin Gates. I was born in Maryland and I was raised majority of my life back and forth between the two. And I'm looking forward to the future. Music started for me when I was 5 years old, and I remember the conversation that I had with my mother. I walked in her room and she had asked me if I wanted to do sports or music, and music just so happened to be the thing that I really wanted to go for at the time. I can't give a real reason to it. It's just something that I leaned towards. So after that weekend, she ended up calling, I believe, DC Youth Orchestra, and they had a petting zoo going on, which is when they allow students or children in the area to come through and try out all of the instruments that they have in storage at the school. I went there at the petting zoo and I tried out a lot of different instruments, but it just so happens that the only one you could sit down with and play was the cello. So that was the instrument I decided to go with because the rest of them you had to stand and play. Throughout DC Youth Orchestra, that's where I spent majority of my life as a musician until I got to high school. Throughout the program, a lot of opportunities presented themselves to myself and some of the other students. Now, during my time at DC Youth Orchestra in my middle school years or so, it was time to go to high school, and I had a middle school teacher by the name of Miss Boyd. She was my mathematics teacher, but she was telling me about schools like Roosevelt and Duke Ellington. I auditioned for Duke Ellington School of the Arts too, and that's the school that I ended up picking and going with. When I auditioned for Duke Ellington, I auditioned for visual arts and the music department. And with visual arts, I got accepted, but after seeing other visual artists and how serious they were in that program, I decided that it would be best to just kind of step back and go to the music department where I belong. I grew up through Duke Ellington. I went through all 4 years. I was a part of the orchestra, and I can sit up here and tell you crazy stories for days. I had got to Hampton University and we had an orchestra. We had an orchestra and it was about 4 to 5 cello players. And I remember ended up as principal chair. And it kind of went to my head. And I'm not shy about saying this because I'm one to take fault for myself and where things have gone wrong in the past. But, you know, I wasn't always, I would say, the best person in terms of being a musician because, you know, especially orchestral musicians, there's this thing where it's like a lot of orchestral musicians might be stuck up and stuff like that. And it just so happens that I was a stuck up orchestral player. So throughout this time, I had the director of Hampton University's orchestra, Bracy, Professor Bracy, that was his name, but he would always drill me in terms of not getting hooked up on women and not getting hooked up on what's out there, drugs, alcohol, all that other stuff. He was very heavy in terms of making sure that I got the point of what it is that I needed to do. My mom has been very supportive of me through all of my musical endeavors. Growing up as a child, she was there especially. She's always going to be there. That's my mother. She loves me, I love her. My mother showed the most support, I want to say again, when I got back from Hampton. I had found myself really finding it difficult to cope with just coming back, leaving college behind just pretty much on a whim or over, you know, a female and just coming back home. And I ended up getting addicted to a few things. And while I was addicted, you know, she would see me, she would never say anything, but she always had this worried look on her face. And oftentimes I remember after the fact, you know, when I had got out of the state that I was in, and she was concerned because she was like, she would look at me and she saw more and more of me kind of wasting away. So it was her words, you know, that came through, and it was just a routine in general of, you know, going out and doing what I had to do to make sure I got what I needed to get. It really came down to that. So I would come home, I'd handle what I had to handle, and then I would go do music. And it got to a point where it really started taking a toll on my mind. And so in the end, it was just, it was just something that had to go. And that was a part of Asteroid Beach. Again, it was just like, you know, addictions, party it up, do what you want to do whatever you want to do. And with Titanium, it was like, you know, all of this stuff has to come to an end. And I would sit there and argue with myself, literally have full-blown conversations with myself and argue and talking about, Ben, you can't do this, man. Like, this ain't right for you. Like, I'm telling you, you sitting here and you're enjoying this now, but I'm sitting here in your mind telling you that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. So it was that, it was my mom, it was my friends, because my friends saw it too. I even brought it around them, unfortunately. You know, they didn't partake, you know, they weren't as crazy as I was. So, I mean, I'm glad, but with all of that, it got to that point where it was like, you know, I'm done with this lifestyle and it was time for something different. And then after that, I remember one day a friend of mine had given me, you know, a pack, and I ended up flushing it, and I was done from that day on. Like, it was serious, because I remember the last time I did anything, it honestly felt like I was going to die. And after that day, I was like, nah, I can't, because if I would have died, like, and I brought her up a lot in this conversation, but just thinking about my mother, you know, she wouldn't have been in a good place. So I'm very glad that she didn't do anything, you know, like, she didn't throw me out the house. She didn't, you know, give me endless lectures. She let everything play out the way I say that it needed to. Well, you know, she was always there. She was always concerned. But the way I look at it in terms of like the addictions and stuff like that, it was like, well, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am today, because that whole experience had allowed me to really be different with people, to get to know people on an entirely different basis, and to change my entire perspective on things, because we look at people and we're so quick to judge because we've never had a chance in their shoes. And it's like I had a chance to see what the world could have been like if I would have continued down that route. And in all honesty, I'm glad I didn't, and it's changed me a lot today, because even musically, you know, like I said, there'd be times I would go inside and it would feel like that I was about to die. And it was like, what I would end up doing is picking my instrument up and I would play it, you know, while being all over the place, but the thing is, it would always calm me down. I graduated in 2009. I've been given plenty of great opportunities through this school, and they've really helped me build my repertoire as long as my technical side of playing on my instrument. Because of them, I've been able to get gigs with President Barack Obama for his National Easter Egg Hunt, in which people are invited to the White House, children mostly. They helped me build a classic repertoire in which I was also able to go to the Swedish Embassy and perform for the Queen of Sweden in 2012 in September at the Four Seasons Hotel not far from the school. Other things are Youth Orchestras of America, DC Youth Orchestra program as always. These are the people that I've spent the most time with, but I owe it all to my Ellington family. They really took me in and they raised me. When I came here, I didn't even know how to read music. I was strictly a Suzuki student, and they broke me out of that habit. It's a very tough habit to break. Behind me is the Swedish Embassy, in which I played for the Queen of Sweden. These are the people who got me that gig. And it's funny, I wasn't that far away from this building when they had found me. I was actually on the other side of this area right here, and they heard me playing my instrument and they brought me in. And then after that, they told me a little bit about what they did. And then after that, they set me up. It was the Mensa Mentoring Foundation that is also in this building back here. This is my group right here, the Gates and Knox. To my right, I have Xavier Knox, the guitarist, the king of optimism right here. And then over here, we got Alex Knox, the bass man, like the killer on the bass right here.
Like